If you follow the channel, you know I'm fixing up the 1980 Sylvan Rodmaster fishing boat, which is this guy right here. And what I'd like to do is go out, fish during the evening, go ahead and sleep on it at night, wake up the next morning. Boy, you could imagine, right at the crack of dawn, throw a line in, perfect. I just put out a video on the tarp system that I've got. Got some LED motion detector lights. Now I've got a video on how I mounted those on the Pontiac Montana, the 2004 Pontiac Montana. And here's one of them right here. Well, that's what I'm working on right now. Let me show you what I've got worked out. If I'm out on a lake somewhere, you know, I'll camp not far offshore. That would be really cool to have these set up. Now, because of the remote control, let's say a boat does pull up, I'll be able to hit these. These are super, super bright and they can turn on. You know, any motion whatsoever, they'll kick on. I just think that that's a really good idea. Now, I do have some fishing lights. I can show you right over here that the previous owner had installed, which are pretty nice. I haven't tried them out yet, but they look like they would work pretty good. Oh, so there's the white, there's the blue, and there's the red. But these might turn out to be pretty nice in case I need a little extra light. Now I think this is the best place to mount them, because with the Benamy top, it will fold down this way. And so it'll be out of the way. It's out of the way of the anchor points here and the rail. So I think that would be the best. If I wanted to mount it, it would be setting up about like this. Now the reason why is because the solar panels that way are facing straight up. They'll get a lot of charge from the sun. And then also the light will be facing down just a little bit into the water in case I needed to use it for fishing. The question was, how am I going to mount these on the gunnel of this boat? Hey, welcome to my outside workshop. This is the plan that I'm working on, and I think is going to work pretty good. So I started out with, I needed a bracket, something that's going to work, something that's going to hold these on the Sylvan and not go flying off when I go scooting down the water at 30 plus miles an hour. Plus, even driving down the road, going on an interstate, a lot of times when I haul the Sylvan, I will not have the boat cover on it. And that way there, everything has to be nice and secure. So if I've got my LED lights on there, I want to make sure that they're not going to fly off. I may have to rethink that because I don't want a rock to hit them either and blast them out. Being they'll be a little bit lower than when they're on the Montana. I had to come up with a bracket. You know, like most people that have a shop tend to hoard a lot of things. And I guarantee I've had these brackets right here probably 2 decades or more. I think what they are, you put several of them on the wall and then you can hang a bicycle from them. So I got to looking at these and I thought, okay, how would this system work? First of all, I had to bend it in order to accept the LED light. Here is the original angle. And this is how much that I bent it in order to get this to work. When the LED sits right, and this is on the deck like this, it's going to come in there and it's going to work pretty good. It's about the same angle as I need it to make the solar top flat. So I took it and basically I just bent it, you know. I've got these 2 screws, these 2 mounting screws that are coming out of the back of it here. Both of these are sitting on the Sylvan. Put stainless steel screws down into the gunnel to hold it. When I set my light on there, I figured out where I needed to drill the holes for these screws to work. This edge right here, I had to cut that edge off. There is what it looked like. It had this extra curve on it right here. And The finished product does not have it. So I cut that off. The edges were kind of sharp. I took this little automotive hose. This is 1/4 inch automotive hose. I took some tin snips. They work on rubber. And I was able to cut a piece just like that. I sliced it down the middle. And then I just take it and I put it back on there. I put it on there just like that. That's going to cover all those sharp edges for me. Painting these, whatever color I decide. And then I'll probably take some weather-resistant Gorilla Tape and maybe put a piece here and wrap it around this way. It's on there pretty good, but I don't want this little rubber piece to fly off, so I'll probably secure that a little bit better. So there you go. So that's it. Here's that rubber hose that I used. Once again, probably been sitting around the shop for decades and decades. Yeah, so these brackets will mount just like that right there. Whatever the spacing is for the other one will mount on there just like that. My stainless steel screws through, pre-drilled, put them through here. Let's say I'm even traveling somewhere and I'm even going to spend the night, say at a hotel, and my boat's going to be sitting outside. I can take these off and put them in the car, and that way I don't have to worry about it. All 4 of my brackets all painted up. They look pretty good. Got that rubber piece that I put on the top to protect from those sharp edges. That should keep them from rusting, corroding. When these pieces are sticking up and I'm not using the lights, it'll keep somebody from getting cut on it. Somebody like me from getting cut on it. I can take the LED lights off the 1980 Sylvan and mount them over there on the 2004 Pontiac Montana. That way I can switch them back and forth. Okay, let's go ahead and get these mounted up. Show you how it's going to work. What's nice about these lights, it comes with a remote control. So that way I can control the light. Now, especially like camping in the Montana, out in the middle of nowhere. I hear a noise outside, something walks into the camp. I've got my remote hanging up. I just grab it, hit the button, and they automatically come on. Even if the motion detector didn't detect movement, I can control it from inside, or I can override it and keep the light off. So if something's coming up and I don't want the light to come on, I don't want it to be scared off, I can override it and the light doesn't come on. So they're a pretty nice system. I highly recommend them. They're not inexpensive. They were probably between $60 and $70 a piece. Solar panel is the way to go. That sun, just collecting that energy, right? Hey, it's funny, like last night, I spent a lot of time just sitting out here in the Sylvan, just planning things, planning my next trip. In fact, yesterday afternoon, I went ahead, I got the mosquito screen that I have that I'm going to use for camping, figure out exactly how the mosquito screen is going to work. I mean, I can take it and throw it over the blue tarp system that I have for my A-frame right here, but instead I thought, you know, it would be nice if I put it up on this canopy right here, and that way it would drape down. In case I'm not using the tarp, I'm not using the frame system, it's still going to work. It worked out great. It's almost like sitting in a screen porch out on the lake. Sylvan too. My son-in-law came over and took a look at it, and the first thing he said was, man, you need to cut access in this floor. You got a lot of room right there. Now, a lot of room doesn't mean a large closet, but when you got a fishing boat like this and you got as much gear as I carry, any kind of space at all is very, very important. Figured out where I could cut this access, and I went ahead and cut it in. Right. Jared, you were right. That's quite a bit of space that I can put stuff in, shove things in. There it is right there. Pretty nice storage area right there to open up. Makes a big difference. Okay, as far as projects go, this one has been pretty easy. What I wanted to make sure is my solar panel is facing upward or maybe a little bit of a slant to it. I wanted to make sure I captured enough energy from the sun to keep my lights fully charged at all times. So it's going to mount just like that right there. That top, that sun's going to come down and catch that solar panel pretty nice. And mount it on that edge right there. I guess I could mount that a little bit farther onto that metal right there and get it this way. I want to be able to have my bracket this way as much as possible. Yeah, I think I'll go like that right there. That works good, and it gives me a line to make sure all the brackets are on exactly the same. Now, one word of caution, if you're doing this, and your gunwale on the boat is definitely aluminum, what you got to be careful with those little tiny metal slivers that come off there, and they're all over here where I just drilled this. So be sure whenever you're finished, take a vacuum and vacuum that all up, because you know, if those little things, they don't seem like much. Of course, you want to wear eye protection, make sure you don't get them in your eyes, but you know, if you don't clean them up, go cruise around on the lake, they may fly up and land on the floor, and somebody might get a little splinter in their foot. It's not a big splinter, but it can be pretty miserable after a while if you can't get it out. In order to mount these, I'm using stainless steel 14 by 1. Ooh, it's a hot one today. Supposed to reach 95 here in southern Indiana. So here's that little bar, and that little bar will go between these two here. And it'll slide on there like that right there. Take the washer, wean that. Pretty good system. That's pretty nice. That's exactly what I was looking for. Hey, I do appreciate you coming to the channel. That's LAF Space Film Fest, capital LAF Space Film Fest. Hey, if you would, hammer down that subscribe button. I appreciate it. Helps me to do little inventions like this, put it on tape. Hey, just in case you're wanting to mount some LEDs on your fishing boat, or you know somebody that could use some LEDs on their fishing boat, share this video with us. Just do this stuff because I like doing it. I do this stuff because I'm doing it anyways, and thought I'd just put it on film for you to share. Pretty happy with that system. Here's that little remote that I have for the lights themselves. Hey, I'll show you how the little remote control works here on the light. It is sitting there and it is charging up. That little dial is taking in all that energy from the sun. Now I'll actually turn it on, and there it is. Now I can change that from a bright yellow into a bright white if I want to. I kind of prefer the softer light, the yellow light, over the bright white light. Okay, so I can go ahead and turn it back off. So my thinking is, here I am camped out in the lake, sound asleep, and a little pirate boat comes creeping up. As they get closer, they're going to get greeted with the light, okay? Which is obviously going to wake me up and say, hey, what's going on? You know, they ask permission to board, I'd say, heck no, go on with yourself, or I'll fire the cannons at you. You know, I spend a lot of time up around Lake Superior, but I'm kind of rethinking that. You know, there are so many places to go in this great country of ours, and just so little time. So, you know, I may just, now that I've got the Sylvan, the 1980 Sylvan, you know, which now I'm calling it the LAF Floating Studio. There's so many giant lakes here in the United States, inland and shore lakes. You know, I may start adventuring and looking at those. And I'm going to go ahead, now that I got my lights, I got my sunscreen, I got my tarp all set up, I'm going to go ahead and try to camp on the water this week and see how that goes. And I'll put a nice little video together on that. I'm kind of excited about that. That's something brand new. I've camped up on mountains, on wilderness, on deserts, but I've never camped out on the water. So this ought to be pretty cool. Again, I really appreciate you coming by the channel. I think I'm coming pretty close to the camping trip on the water. Stay tuned.